So we're continuing our strategic planning process, and we are using Tim Hortons as our study here. So we did our PESTEL. We looked at the environmental factors that are impacting our organization. We did the Porter's 5 forces to look at the external environment as well. We then did a BCG Matrix looking at our product mix and what is providing growth opportunities and what is currently bringing in customers. So we want to combine all this information to do a SWOT analysis. So SWOT looks at what is impacting inside the company and external to the company. So inside the company, we are looking at the strengths. What do we do well? What is our competitive advantage? And we look at our weaknesses. So what do we not do well? Because we're not good at it, others are better at it, or because we don't have the right amount of resources that is needed to implement it properly. And then we have external to the company. So opportunities, what are positive trends in those environmental factors? So going back to that PESTEL and Porter's 5 forces, what are the threats, the negative trends that might hurt us that we saw in our PESTEL or Porter's 5 forces? So we then look at, for each of these, strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So we're looking at the positive and negative, both inside the company and outside the company. So when it comes to strengths inside the company, we might have financial strengths, right? When we look at our financial ratios, we might be performing well and using our assets productively. We might be great in terms of those ratios we discussed earlier this semester. We might have innovative capacity. So we have the ability as an organization to change. We have the ability to be creative. Our workers have time and space, resources, and job security to innovate. We have a skilled and experienced management. We have well-defined strategies. We have great networks and relationships. We have a positive reputation. We have technology that the competition doesn't have. That enables us to function effectively. So if we think about Tim Hortons and strengths, one of the strengths is that positive reputation, right, in terms of being that national brand. And in terms of core competencies, what do we do well, right? We make coffee well. And then we look at our weaknesses. So inside the company, maybe we have inadequate financial resources. So maybe we're not liquid enough. Maybe we have trouble finding investors or getting loans. Maybe we have a poorly planned strategy or it's not being implemented. Maybe we're lacking in terms of leadership and management skills or not being innovative. Maybe we have a negative reputation. Maybe we have inadequate facilities. So we are not able to produce and meet the demand because we don't have a big enough space. So we can look at our layout of our facility, our locations of our facilities. Maybe they're causing issues. Maybe we have insufficient marketing skills. And so we are just not properly marketing what makes us unique and conveying that information, getting it across. Maybe we're inefficient in our production processes. So if we look at Tim Hortons and some of the changes that they have made, some of the changes they've made is to no longer produce all of their donuts on site. They are now par baking them. So they basically partially cook them elsewhere and then ship them. So what they're trying to do is address production inefficiencies and lower cost by having one central location have all of the equipment to do that production. And then all that has to be done is it has to be heated up or finished off at the location. This also allows for little tiny Tim Hortons to be in gas stations, for example, because they don't need the full kitchen to operate. Then we have the positive factors outside the company. So do we have any untapped markets, new products or geographic markets? So we see Tim Hortons moving into other countries where there's not a culture or there's not a lot of competitors in terms of donuts. So an opportunity to get a much bigger customer base. Of course, the challenge there in terms of the threat is Do people in those countries, do they like donuts? Are they willing to eat donuts? Maybe there's a favorable shift in terms of industry dynamics, in terms of how the industry is operating, in terms of relationships between buyers and suppliers. Is there high growth potential, emerging markets, emerging technologies? So one of the opportunities that Tim Hortons is taking advantage of is this movement in the industry to everyone creating an app and ordering online. We talked before about accessing overseas markets. Is there changes in regulations? Or is the market fragmenting so that there's now separate cohorts where we can appeal to different groups of people wanting different things? We also look at the negative factors, the threats that come outside, so new competitors, other companies that are providing similar products. Maybe our suppliers have more leverage now and are causing our costs to go up. Are people shifting to substitute products? Maybe there's more government regulation. Maybe the business cycle is hurting our company. We talked in a previous video about, if the economy is contracting and people are trying to save money, are they more likely to come to Tim Hortons? Maybe that's an opportunity for our company, whereas for other organizations, when the economy contracts, that's less buyers. So is there slowing marketing growth? That's a threat, as opposed to high growth, which is an opportunity. Are the changing customer preferences to our benefit, so an opportunity, or is it that they are moving away from what we offer? So if they are more health conscious, that's a threat for Tim Hortons. But if we can, maybe it's an untapped opportunity to offer something different, right? And moving into that rice bowls that we talked about before. Adverse demographic shifts. So is there a change in the age, the income level? Are there people who used to buy our product that there's no longer a lot of that particular cohort? That's a threat. If there are more of a demographic shift that's in our favor, then that's more of an opportunity. So population gets older, maybe retired people like more Tim Hortons. So we need to analyze the strengths. So internally, what are we good at? The weaknesses, what are internally, what's some of the challenges that we face? So this can be in terms of our inputs, our processes, our outputs, how well we monitor in terms of financial controls, in terms of behavioral controls. And then we have outside the company. And those are those external environmental factors. That's the Porter's 5 forces and the PESTEL. Are there things that we can use to our benefit, so they're opportunities, or are they things that are working against us, and so they are threats? If you are working through the course with us, what we want you to do is create a SWOT for Tim Hortons. I gave you a couple examples of different ones, but you can flesh that out in more detail.